ancient chronology is basically the foundation of the entire edifice of global chronology. An imaginary foundation. Despite its numerous gaps and inconsistencies, Roman history is the best documented field of ancient history, and thus a reference scale of a paramount importance. But how well do we know the actual date of the city's foundation? The question makes more sense than it might seem for several reasons. Firstly, Rome is supposed to have been founded by the Trojans who had to flee after the fall of Troy. However, there are lots of different opinions as to when that happened exactly, and the datings offered are scattered over the range of 500 years. Some claim Rome to have been founded by Aeneas and Ulysses shortly after Troy had fallen. Others are of the opinion that there was an entire dynasty that ruled for 400 years between the fall of Troy and the foundation of Rome. What do modern historians really say about the correct chronology of the ancient Rome when they do not have to produce textbook-friendly output? The following: neither Diodorus nor Livy possess a correct chronology. We cannot trust the Fasti, which tell us nothing about who was made consul in which year, or the cloth writings that led Licinius Marcus and Tibero to contradictory conclusions. The most trustworthy documentation is the kind that turns out to be much more recent forgeries after in-depth analysis.
This book will change your entire perception of history forever. What if ancient Rome, Greece and Egypt were invented during the Renaissance? What if the Old Testament was a rendition of events in the Middle Ages? What if Jesus Christ was born in 1053 and crucified in 1086 AD? Sounds unbelievable? Not after you've read History, Fictional Science by Anatoly Fomenko, the leading mathematician of our time.